Hello guys, welcome back to another video. For those who don't know me, my name is David. I am a student here at MIT studying architecture and design, and I make these videos just for fun, just as a way for me to share some thoughts and lessons that I've gained throughout the years on creativity, on entrepreneurship, design, philosophy, psychology. It's really a mixed bag. I do these almost as a way for me to talk to my past self and also distill some of the thoughts or ideas that I've had throughout the years, or maybe just day to day, almost like a journal entry. So yeah, this is a video that I really wanted to make. It's actually something or on a subject that I think is getting more and more traction and is becoming more apparent with time. And it's the idea of productizing yourself, or the idea that you can turn yourself into, people call it personal brand, people call it different things. But for me, it's really this concept that now with the internet, with technology, it has never been easier to just produce work creatively in a way that is very authentic and honest with who you are and what you like to do, and making a living doing just the things that you enjoy doing, and just being your own person. I think we can tie and we can talk about the creator economy in this video as well. But it's basically working on the foundation or on the concept that your personality has value, and your own person and your own interests, your curiosity, your specific knowledge, all these things, just your intellectual curiosity, even if that's something that, you're not necessarily an expert at, but it's something you're interested in diving into, that can become a way for you to, make a living out of it and monetize, create content, get exposed to different people, working on projects with them, and build a career out of it, So that's what we're going to talk about. I have, a few notes that I've written down before coming here. And also, this idea is not mine. I wish I could have came with this idea, but it's something I've read in this book. And it's basically the story of Naval. Highly recommend you read up on Naval Ravikant. He's an angel investor in San Francisco in Silicon Valley, but he grew up in New York. There's a few videos of him, some podcasts on YouTube and on Spotify you can listen to. But really, I think that idea of productizing yourself really came out of him. He's like an old school, he's a big deal in Silicon Valley and the whole startup world, but then he kind of dabbled or kind of went more into like philosophy and happiness and spirituality and that kind of stuff. So he has a really good balance between both worlds. But anyways, so this whole video, I think, is kind of referring to a lot of the ideas that he came up with, but kind of I'm sharing it through my own lens and my own interesting flair in my experience as a designer, or studying design and getting into MIT. So really, that's what we're gonna get into. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't script my videos. I just go off the bat. So I usually just ramble off and try to get into flow state. And then if I get an idea and I have another tangent, I usually jump from tangent to tangent. So that's what we're gonna do today. But why is this important? Why would you want to know how to productize yourself and turning yourself into, personal brand, or creating content for yourself, or working for yourself? People also call it solopreneurship. So the idea that you don't need a big team of people working under you, even a small team, like startups, you kind of need startups usually start off 2 people, but then as they grow, there's 3, 4, 5, 6, it grows and grows. And then that's where usually startups become organizations and large organizations with time. But the idea of productizing yourself comes from the idea that you can just be yourself And you don't need other types of leverage, because if you think about it, people are types of leverage. If you have people like employees working under you, you're paying them a salary. You have laborers helping you produce outcome. And now with AI, with technology, with software, with media, with social media, like you can, what used to be something that needed a big team can now be done on your own, just by yourself. That's really the core foundation of this whole thing and this whole discussion we're having today. You just need yourself and the confidence to execute things on your own. And I would argue it's also the most ethical place to be, because you don't need to rely on others and take advantage of others. You basically you need to use your own time and leverage it in smart ways. There are a lot of things we need to talk about, because finding the right thing to work on is probably the most important thing. A lot of hard workers out there work really hard, and they, every day they clock in, clock out, and they are diligent, they are very disciplined, but the output doesn't reflect the input. And that's just because they haven't chosen the right thing to focus on, or something that has a leverage in the long term, that can compound interest and that can grow on its own, where you can have equity in a business and equity in something, and then you can gain wealth through that. Ultimately, what we're talking about is wealth creation. And I try not to use the word like money or wealth, just because a lot of people, take advantage of that. There's no such thing as a get rich quick scheme. Everything takes a lot of time. And, you need to form relationships. You need to form reputation. You need to be ethical. I'm a big believer in karma. So if you give good to the world, you will get something good in exchange. So giving is probably the best thing you can do, and giving for free in the beginning, because things take time. Reputation takes time to build. Social leverage takes time to build. So all these things take time. But basically, if I go back to productizing yourself, what does that mean? What it means is, if you are a writer, if you are good with computers, if you're whatever kind of personality type you are, or things you enjoy doing, there are tools out there that can help you leverage or create leverage, and then scale your knowledge and your skill sets to a wider audience, to a larger market. It doesn't need to be big. I'm not talking about building the next startup. I'm just talking about finding a community that values your work, your thoughts, your ideas, your art, your creations, and then you're able to make a living by exchanging and selling those goods, those products, those services to these people, to this community. And so really the key things, the two key methods are media and code. If you're good with computers and you know how to code and you're tech savvy, definitely go into coding or use coding as a leverage. Nowadays, people vibe code, so it's even more accessible. Like anyone can build a website, anyone can build a software and a tool or whatever. If you're willing to, put in the work and you love doing it, go into that. If you're someone who is not really good with computers, but you're good with people, you're good with talking, you're extroverted, or you like writing, and you think in that sense, like you're more of an artist, creative, but you're not really good with computers, definitely use media. And that could be Twitter, that could be, or X, that could be YouTube, Spotify, podcasts, writing books. There are like a lot of options out there where you can make a living just producing media. And because really those two types of technologies are scalable technologies. So you can just produce something once and then have that product be distributed to large amounts of people, like incredible large networks. And then that information, that product, that value can be consumed by people. And if you're selling something, then you can just scale it and sell it to a lot of people. So really the same thing with coding. So if you build a software and you have a few like users using it, but then they pay a monthly retainer, or they use that tool every month, and so you just have to build a software once, maintain it obviously, but then you can scale it, and like many people can buy it. It is more difficult, obviously. And this is not by no means like a video on startups, even though I can probably talk about it in some other video. I have experience working in startups, building my own, a lot of failures, a lot of successes, a lot of things I've learned throughout the way. But that's another video for another time. But really, coding and media are the two new ways you can really productize yourself. And so, okay, now that you have the two ways, code, media, what should you be producing? And that really depends on who you are. And I have a lot of videos, and I talk a lot about knowing yourself, understanding who you are, your strengths, your curiosities, what you enjoy doing day to day, the things that are easy to you. That's really the thing you want to start with, because if it's easy to you, nobody can outcompete you. You are just, for you, it's play. For them, it's work. So whatever you decide to pick something, and it doesn't matter really in the beginning. It doesn't really matter what you pick, because you're not a specialist. Like, humans are generalists, we're not meant to just be good at one single thing, or else it'd be the most boring existence in the world. We're really layered species. We're like multivariable like mammals. So we need to know or learn a lot of different things. But in the beginning, just pick one, and pick one that you think you can stick with for a long time, because of the notion of compound interest. You want it to compound and to build on itself, and so it can grow and grow. If you put in the work day in, day out, week by week, month by month, it will grow. So it's consistency. So you need to find something you enjoy doing, or else you won't be consistent. You will just give up after a week. So pick something you enjoy doing, or you want to learn more about. And so I really believe that following your genuine intellectual curiosity is one of the stepping stones. You need to really find an obsession, something you can either yap about, talk about it nonstop, study it nonstop, create things about it. Like, you want to find your rabbit holes and consume, and then produce. They will become your inspiration, your muse. And I talk about this in some other videos. But yes, you want to just be yourself. Find something. It can, people make a living reacting to videos. People make a living playing video games, live streaming, hanging out with their friends, vlogging, doing a day in the life. Like, nowadays you can build a career out of anything. Like, the amount of videos I've seen that are just so diverse and unique and really dependent on the creator of that video, of that creation. Same thing with software. There's so many different startups and products out there that are built by really young people, and that don't have the experience, but when you give yourself a mission or a task or a project, and you self-assign yourself that, you find the way to build upon it and then learn as you go. And really, that's how everybody learns. You just pick something, become obsessed, and you learn by doing. That is it. You should not just like watch a tutorial, watch a guide, read a book. Yeah, reading a book will not give you the answers what to do. You need to strategize. You need to map things out. You need to learn a little bit of everything, apply it, and then you're learning as you're doing. The amount of failures I've had are incredible, because in the beginning you don't know. You're curious. You try it out. You fail, and then you give up, and then you try something else. And the more you do that, the better you'll get. I will say that if you do read more books, or if you learn from other people's mistakes, because ultimately if you read a book, like, you're learning about someone else's lessons or mistakes. And so you can quickly just avoid any mistakes along the way. So that's why it's better to read and to get educated as you go. But I would argue that that's something you do like ongoing. Like you need to do it on the way while you're working on something. It's not like, oh, let me get good first and then sell it. It's like, no, let me build in public. Let me like share stuff right away. Like I can start today with who I am, what I like. I have what it takes, and then you'll just learn as you go, and then you'll learn more and you'll get better. And then, you know, you don't need to tell yourself that like, oh, next year I'll start, or tomorrow I'll start, or I'll start when I'm ready. Because the reality is like we're never ready. A lot of it is imposter syndrome. A lot of it is just like feeling like you're not qualified or whatever, or you're too young. But you can just start, and then you'll be surprised that there are people out there that resonate with your thoughts, or that love your products, or that love what you have to give. And so, yeah, really follow your own intellectual curiosity, and it will pay dividends in the long term. And yeah, and that really ties into the creator economy. And so creator economy is a buzzword, but what does it mean? It means that more and more people or individuals are able to just create what they really want to do and make a living out of it. Historically, if you go back to the Industrial Revolution or the Industrial Age, if you wanted to open a corporation, a business, whatever kind of business entity, you had to have a production line, you had to have physical goods, you had to have, a factory and people working for you. And you were the boss, you were the owner, and then you would take the risk by buying capital or using capital to buy goods and create machinery and having that create some sort of product, right? And if it was a service, it was usually same concept yourself if you're a professional or if you had some service to offer, but then you usually have other people working under you. If it was like paperwork or customer relationships or, sales, like meeting people one-on-one, and, you needed people, and there was no internet. There was no, the news was all newspaper. And so it was really hard to distribute and have that distribution, because ultimately it all comes down to distribution and sales and sharing and all that stuff. But now with the internet age, the age of the information, or the information age, I would say, you can build anything at zero cost of replication. So like I mentioned, if you have an idea, if you have a product, like a digital product, because of the internet, now you can just the value itself doesn't come from the physical goods. It comes from the insight, from the information, from the idea. And you might say oh, well, it doesn't have really that much value. It's not a physical thing. Yes, it's true. It's not, you can't, if you're a builder, you still need to build a house. It's a physical thing. But for the most part, there are so many, so much value you can exchange just by exchanging information. So what that means is that it doesn't cost anything to upload videos. It doesn't cost anything to write code. All you have to do is have a really good idea, be very creative, and then create something that does not exist in the world, and that you're the only person that is well positioned to create that thing. And if it aligns, then people want it, then you're good. Your society will give you wealth in exchange for what it needs, and if you're best suited to give that need. So we're in an age where you don't need permission, because a lot of technologies out there, or if you want to open a company or a business, you need permission. You need some sort of permission from the government, or for real estate, you need some sort of land, you need some property, you need employees, you need contracts with people who will work with you. And, that becomes complicated. But for you as a normal a normal dude or girl on the internet, if you're like, interested in building something, but like you're like 18, 20 or something, and you're like, I don't have anything, I just want to start, you can do it. You can literally just open a channel, open an account, a Shopify account or whatever. You can sell anything online. You can exchange whatever you want, as long as you do it ethically. Like, it's the same, like it works for everyone. Anyone can just do whatever they want now. And so we're seeing more and more of these. TikTok's a good example. Like, a lot of people on TikTok make, videos about anything. They just record their lives, or they talk to their audience, and they get deals and they get sponsorships, and sometimes they transition into YouTube, or they do podcasts after that. And then it creates their own media, their own channels, and it's all about distribution. We're all trying to exchange things between each other. So really, the creator economy, I'm very bullish. I know a lot of people already know about this, but it took me a while to realize that, hey, we're living in like the moment where anyone can be a creator. You don't need permission. You just need to do it. And I think in the future, people will look back and be like, yeah, the creator economy period really changed the trajectory of society, because now it's becoming more and more easy to consume information online, educate yourself, and really just get the skills you need to build whatever you want. So yeah, that's on the creator economy. But really, if for you as a person, what that really means is that your own personality is really the key. And Dan Ko, who's a YouTuber and a guy on X, who's also a follower of Naval. I think we're all like disciples of Naval, the ones really obsessed with his work, because it really changed the game after COVID, when Naval started posting more of these of this stuff. But he terms it as, you are the niche. And what that basically means is that your own personality, you are the niche that people are talking about. Like, oh, what should I get into? Like, what should I do? What should I talk about? What should I work on? Just realize that like your own personality has value. The way you think, the way you see the world, the things you obsess about, the things that only you know, that I don't know and people don't know about, but you can teach us and can, share that in like a valuable way. But even value is super subjective, right? Like, for people, like, being inspired has value. Creating beautiful things has value. Or for some others, creating functional, pragmatic tools is valuable. There's different types of value out there. Entertainment is value. There's a lot of different ways you can see value, but I would argue that your personality is the core thing that makes things valuable. And it's freeing when you realize that, because then you realize that no one can compete with you. Ultimately, like, you are the only person with your own personality, your own thoughts, your own interests. And if you're able to kind of put them all together and package it in a way that like is very authentic and unique, there is no other type of you in the world. And so you are a rare commodity. You are a rare like product that people will want to consume, and people will want to learn more about it and get to know you. And then because you're doing it under your own name, then your reputation goes up. Then you get social leverage, and then you get accepted to different things, and you get invited to different things, and then you find your tribe, and then you're part of this community where you've built your name, and you've taken the risk, because there is risk obviously involved when you start from scratch. You're trying to find things out, you're trying to understand yourself. But with time, if you're strategic enough, you can start to find the leverages, the easy points here and there to help you grow. And yeah, that's really like, I think the secret sauce. That's like the thing took me some time to realize while I was in university and I was working, is, I would be like, oh, like university is like, getting like taking time away from me. Like I'd much rather be working on the business or doing things I love. But I realized like, hey, I'm at university, I'm building my skills, I'm learning how to design and how to think like an intellectual, and I'm thinking, or I'm learning a lot about different skills, different technical skills, and what I enjoy doing, what I don't enjoy doing, reading up on different artists or different thinkers and leaders, and getting dragged into architecture, public speaking, psychology, sales, persuasion, startups, entrepreneurship. You get in these rabbit holes. And so that's for me. Maybe for you, it's very different. Maybe you're interested in different things. Could be into music or into journalism or writing or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. But you probably have several interests. But that's normal. And so once you realize that like, hey, I can just share that with others now, that's where it starts to shift your perspective on things of like, hey, people might want to work with me on these things or learn from me, and I have value to give. And so having multiple interests is very natural. It's probably the most natural thing humans do, because we have different, like multiple layers to us. And it will also make you very authentic. Authenticity is becoming more and more important now. I could give my prediction as to like how I think social media platforms are gonna evolve, but I think we're seeing more and more of a need to be real and honest and authentic, and society has less trust in big corporations because they're faceless. They don't have a person. I mean, they usually have a founder's face associated to that company, but when you're dealing with large organizations, you don't really know who's working in that organization. So like you as a consumer have less trust. And so I think we're going to see more and more startups. I think it's just a trend now. Like we're seeing more solopreneurs, more entrepreneurs, freelancers, people working for themselves, but also micro teams like startups, and taking or chipping away at market share of big corporations. You see that in tech all the time, that like there's a lot of startups popping up that are really succeeding, and there may be a team of like 3-4, and so like we're gonna see a lot more of that. And so for you, it basically means that like, hey, like why not join that wave and be one of the early ones to just start making a career out of the things you enjoy, and then posting online or creating software or building a product, getting a friend of yours and really sitting down with them and asking like, okay, what should I be building? What should we make? Like, what do we believe in? Going those rabbit holes, looking for gaps, and trying to push technology forward and bring value to people. Like a lot of these things can be done for free. Like books are free online. You can find any audiobook or any book for free. You can use AI. Like I haven't talked much about AI, but I can maybe make a video on it. But like a lot of people say like, oh, AI is bad. AI is like, you shouldn't be using AI. Like I have some friends who are against AI and and they say like they shouldn't be using it. I think it's a wonderful tool. I think if you're a designer or you're a creative person, in terms of ideation, it is a superpower. It will enhance your workflow like crazy. If you use it right, and you don't just use ChatGPT or Claude or Anthropic or whatever tool you're using, DeepSeek, if you instead use it as a way to bounce ideas and ping pong intellectually with the software, and you're not just taking it word for word what it's giving you, but you're being critical and you're asking it to refine it and to think of it differently or reword it, and you're using it almost like an assistant, like a partner for creativity, and trying to learn concepts, and you really want to like make sure you get the idea right and you really understand things clearly. Or it can be used to just clarify things for yourself. Like there's so many use cases for AI that at this point I am just like, nobody has any excuses now. Because if I go back to the analogy of the Industrial Revolution, like, or the industrial age, back then you'd need like so many people to do things, whereas like, or like assistants, and you have to pay them salary, and like it'd be like a huge thing to like give them tasks to do. But now you literally have each one of us have access to personalized AI assistants who can exponentially boost your productivity, help you with writing, help you with brainstorming, help you with like connecting ideas together or getting exposed to different things. Like for searching, it's really good for making connections and connecting one thing to another. It's basically like an infinite resource library, and that's it. For information, for making connections, it's the best thing. And that's why I think for creatives and for designers, it's a wonderful resource. It just becomes bad when you just take everything for granted and you're not critical, you don't have judgment, and you just take everything face value. That's bad. But for the most part, it's an incredible tool. So yeah, use AI. Don't be ashamed, and you will see how much you will just surpass people. Because I think a lot of people are still in the they're still in the like avoidance, or I forgot the term, but they're not really like, they don't realize how powerful AI is, and so they kind of like, because it's such a different thing, and there's like a lot of doomers who think like AI is going to take over the world, blah blah blah, like we're going to lose jobs. It's not true. It's just a technology. It's like when the calculator was released, like people also were against the calculator, but nowadays like it's become just an old technology. The same thing in a few years, AI will become an old technology, and something new will come up. So yeah, that's what I think in terms of AI. But really, because of the fact that people are looking at more authentic individuals and companies and people to do business with and to get their information from, like big media is also a very good example. Like I just stopped completely watching the news, because like traditional news, because it's just so outdated. It's like there's no realness. Everything's packaged, and there's also always a narrative and a story and like a kind of an agenda for them to push. It's not authentic. I much rather listen to two very smart people talking about something that they know what they're talking about, and then having it be a genuine conversation with people. I think we're going to see more and more long form content with people talking to each other in a very human way and just discussing issues regarding politics, science, technology, culture, arts, creative, like whatever it is. But it won't be mediated by a big company who can have full control over the narrative, So there's this decentralization that's going to happen, where things are going to like spread out and kind of be divided amongst other people. And what that basically means for you is that you have to learn to be disciplined and to teach yourself, and to realize that like, hey, if I want to do this thing on my own, if I want to productize myself, be a solopreneur, not have people like who I'm dependent on and that they are dependent on me, if I want to have that freedom, because ultimately all of this conversation we're having is because I assume that you want some freedom. I don't know where you come from, what you want in life, but I know for a fact that the thing I strive for is not necessarily having a lot of money. It's not having a lot of fame. It's not having a lot of objects or, luxurious things in a nice condo, and all these things for me are very superficial. But what I do want is freedom. All the decisions I make or the things I do is because I'm trying to build the future that I want for myself, and a world where, I don't need much, but if I'm able to not be told what to do, I can control my own schedule. I can really go into the things that interest me without having to worry about money, worrying about my health, worrying about like where if there's going to be food on the table. All of this only comes once you've attained freedom. And so to attain freedom, you need wealth. You need to have enough, like you need the leverage to be able to make an income or make money without having to pin your time to it. And that you need to have, like I said, like code or media or some form of machine that generates wealth while you're sleeping. Because if you're always just constantly working, you're not a free person. You will just be constantly working towards getting some form of money. Money is just an exchange of your time. But wealth is having just money being produced while you're sleeping, is having passive income is another way to think about it. But you can only get that if you're able to leverage things and technology in a way that helps you attain that wealth. And so really that's what I strive for, is like, it's not about making a lot of money, but it's being very strategic and ethical in how to create wealth without having to scam people and without having to have like taking advantage of people and having them work for you. Like now with technology, like AI, yourself, your work, media, like you can mass produce information and package it to the world at zero cost or like a very low marginal cost, So it's about freedom. We all want to have the luxury to have time to think, reflect, do things creatively. And so, but in order to get there, you need to shift your mindset and think like a founder, think like an entrepreneur, like you're your own boss. And in order to get there, you need to stop thinking like in terms of like getting a job or like that job will give you freedom. Honestly, I think it depends on the person. I know some people who are very okay with working for a job, like having your own job and working for a company and then getting paid a salary and going into work every day. And, I know for a lot of people, that's the reality and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think nobody really enjoys, that might be a hot take, but I don't think people necessarily enjoy working for others. I think people would be much happier working for themselves and doing things that they believe in. They could be a small group, but I think large companies like corporate organizations are not the most human ways to live and to work. So yeah, and I think in order to get there, you kind of have to start making time for yourself. I think being bored is probably one of the best things you can do nowadays, because if you're bored and you have time for yourself to think, you can allow yourself to be creative and to find things to do for yourself. The problem is when you don't have time for yourself because you're working too much for somebody else, or you have so many commitments like for school or for your job or social requirements where you're always going out and you're not really like taking time for yourself and like thinking like, okay, what should I be doing? Like a lot of people think about what job to get into, but they don't really think about what should I be doing? What should I be working on? What's the 20% task or mission I can be doing right now or be working on that can lead me to 80% of the results? You want to start thinking in terms of leverage. What's the smallest thing I can do that will give me the most leverage? Because we have a limited time. So you have to be very efficient and strategic in terms of what I spend my time doing, who I'm spending it with, and where I'm doing it. So location is very important. The people are very important. and the actual task itself is very, very important. Once you realize that, you will find the time to have work on side projects, things on the side that will grow naturally with time, and something might pop up, or it might lead you to other opportunities. You're basically creating your luck if you're constantly just thinking of creative ways to build something of value, but you need time to think. You can't be spending your time doing stupid things or giving your time for free. You need to really value your time and think of yourself like a professional, like someone of value who needs to work on something for themselves. So that's pretty much it. I've been talking for a lot. This is probably one of the longer videos, but it's just because, and I've only scratched the surface. There's so much more depth to that. And I'm also trying to unpack it for myself. A lot of these concepts, like I said, come from this book that I highly recommend you look up, or just look into Naval's work, because a lot of the things I say really revolve around Naval, and his philosophy is really, really impacting the way I see work in society, education, spirituality, self-development, all that stuff. But the good news is that you can educate yourself. The world is full of information for free. We're living in an abundance of information, and you can educate yourself. And if you're willing to put in the work and be disciplined and, just be on the right path to, help yourself, help others, offer service, the more you give, the more you will get back. So really, it has never been easier to just start your own thing, creating yourself as this product, as this, as this business, as this niche, and you don't need anyone else. You don't need permission. You can just do it on your own, and it will be the most fulfilling thing ever, because you've decided to do it for yourself and not because someone told you to do it. And yeah, that's what I'm trying to do with these videos, and hopefully I keep doing these, and it's been helping a lot of people. I've gotten some great messages from people, and some private DMs of people who want to talk with me and hang out and ask me questions. And it's been a huge inspiration as well for me in terms of what to create, what my purpose is. It's a wonderful thing. So I highly recommend anyone to just start doing it. Just start creating something on the internet and giving it for free, and you will see it will pay off in the end. That was a lot. But that's it for me. For the next video, we'll see. For the next few weeks, I think we have at MIT, we have 4 weeks left or something like that until finals or the end of the semester. And then it's the summer. And I just learned that I'll be officially working as part of the Sensible City Lab at MIT. I'll be working as a research assistant in data visualization and in design. But we'll see. There might be other projects I'll be working on with them. But I'll keep you guys updated. Maybe I'll share some of the work I'm working on at MIT. But yeah, it will probably be a busy semester, or a busy rest of the semester for now. So we'll see if I keep doing videos like these, or if I was thinking of maybe doing more tutorial, or not tutorial, but more like presentations with slides and kind of seminars or webinars, whatever it's called. Webinar based videos where I'm teaching some design concepts or some lessons that have helped me and got me to MIT, or some labs or productivity hacks. I don't know. There's so many videos I want to make. Not enough time, too many ideas. But I think that's the problem we all have as creatives, is that it's always a time issue. You can have so many ideas, but then you actually have to sit down and do it and execute, and then just like iterate and improve. So yeah, things take time, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So yeah, I'll end this video. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care and peace.